Welcome to Unfamiliar Territory, an anime podcast hosted by two white dudes who've been friends for over 15 years. We talk about the history and influence of anime, as well as review anime new and old, believe in the stars, and sail away for the future into unfamiliar territory.
My name is Grant.
And I'm Brantley. Heads up, spoilers on the way. Check the description, see if you're safe to listen.
All right, welcome to this episode of Familiar Territory, the first episode we've done post-mortem of Rush Limbaugh, so the world is a little bit of a happier place during this recording.
Indeed. We're also sort of hitting our landmark, I guess you could call it our third season, since we've gone through 12 and 12 episodes before this. So just all sorts of celebrations going on right now. Today we're actually going to talk about a show we watched a while ago, and really even before I saw it with Grant. Grant had seen it before me, way earlier than that. So we're sort of resurrecting this topic for today.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute. Oh god, fucking I totally missed the fucking joke. The moment you said it and you did your little cough, you were sounding so smug, and I just went right
that's why I
over
have to laugh at my own jokes, so that way I can signal to people. It's like how animals have their different little gestures and like their own little language to communicate to each other. That's me telling other people to laugh. So yeah, we are going to talk about Zombieland Saga. You know, like the opening, like the thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Zombieland Saga came out in 2018, and it had no right to be as good as it was.
That's one way to put it.
I'm not even entirely sure I remember what brought me to watch this show.
Memes and gifts?
Well, yeah, probably. But I'm pretty sure it was the opening 20 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Where our main character, Sakura Minamoto, walks outside with toast in her mouth, late for school, and immediately is hit by a fucking truck.
Mm-hmm. And does not go to a parallel world. I mean, you could interpret it like that, but a parallel world where almost everything is the same except a few people are zombies.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a title right there.
It's a wild show. It's legitimately one of the funniest pieces of media I've seen in terms of anime.
Mm-hmm.
When we watched it, we watched the dub, and I've seen the dub and the sub,
mm-hmm.
And while I think the sub is really, really good, and if you watch the sub, you'll probably have a good time. I think having the comedy beats and the timing in the dub, because I don't speak Japanese, made it a little bit more fun because I got the timing.
Oh yeah, and the inflection too is a little closer to home. So, yes. You know, when the English dub voice actor for Kotaro is doing his like strange characteristic like mannerisms in his voice, he's kind of being loose with it. It's a little more immediate to hit, as compared to sort of like the translation filter you go through with, you know, a Japanese voice actor or actress, you know, where yeah, it's just kind of like, yeah, I know what he's going for here, you know.
Yeah, no, it's good. I actually, before we watched this, I put on an episode while I was cleaning
mm-hmm.
my apartment, and I was watching the episode where we see Lily's dad, and even the visual gags in the show are very fucking good.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
so
oh yeah, we should probably do our usual like summary of the show or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know if this one needs a whole lot of summary.
No, I mean it's pretty simple. The show is a idol show, in which all the idols are zombies. They all died one way or another, and they've been brought back to life by a manager named Kotaro. Sorry.
You're good. You've got
names.
Inspector on the brain because your statue's on the way, right?
It is. and they have to bring tourism to the Saga Prefecture, which in both the show and in real life is suffering from a lack of tourism and things for young people to do. So it is losing population and does not have the money that is usual for tourism. So it's pretty neat. But one of the things that it does that's super interesting is that it actually deals with the deaths of every single one of the characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This show bothers to flesh everybody out. Ha ha ha. But like, they do the thing where it's like, hey, everybody gets their own arc episode, which I feel like it has to be typical in other similar shows. You know, I've only seen one episode of Love Live, but I imagine it's the same thing there. You know, it's the Nico episode, you know, and that kind of thing. But I do think that these episodes are really successful in that sense because they all are pretty goal-driven beyond just character foils. It's not just like, oh, these two characters are having a squabble. It's something that is connected to their death in the real world. And usually they focus on the dramatic circumstances of that, you know, at least to an extent. This show, as you've mentioned, it does like a really good job of like balancing on the knife's edge of like comedy and tragedy.
Yeah. Fucking even the episode, like one of the characters' death was she got struck by lightning. And there's an entire episode that deals with her PTSD of storms and also the fact that all of her friends think she's dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's weirdly tragic. And they don't do a little happy, oh, they know she's alive, it's all good. It's just sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This show has really good tonal control, you know. Like the plots themselves are, I feel are pretty interesting, but then it also has this really great feel for when to kick in the humor and when to pull back. You know, okay, so the truck is an obvious one. The truck at the very beginning, where like it's shocking in like the first instant, but it reads almost immediately as a joke right after that. And then they swerve right back over into sort of like drama, tragedy sort of zone there.
Right. The way they do it is pretty interesting. So they show her getting hit once. And if they showed her getting hit exactly once, it would have been a shock and a little tragic. But instead, they show her get hit 6 times through different camera angles. And then it goes into a metal screamo song with the credits rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hilarious. For that first second, you're a little shocked, and then it just keeps happening again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
And it manages to make someone getting hit by a truck hilarious.
Yeah. I also think that the general like crafting of the scene makes sense too. Because it's like, it's a bright, sunny day. And like, you know, I feel like you can sort of squint your eyes at this and see it as totally just like this tragic sort of like, almost like a Splatterhouse thing they're going for. But the fact that the aesthetics look the way they do, with like very soft edges, and like, you know, the colors are very like bright and saturated. And then you take this like hard turn into screamo. I feel like those things in combination make it extremely hard to interpret the wrong way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. I also think the head slap in episode 2 is also like in that same vein where it's like this, you know, this is a dramatic moment where, you know, there's essentially like a dispute going on between Sakura and Saki, and it essentially is getting, you know, settled on stage in front of a public audience. But the head slap of Tai Yamada is
It's so fucking good.
It's the way that everything, the music and everything kind of the ambience cuts out, and her head is the one that's getting slapped. It's not like Saki is getting, attacked suddenly. It's that the thing in the middle of them is being knocked out of the way, and they once again pull a triple take.
It's so good.
It's very well taken care of. The delivery is strong. I feel like if you're just sort of describing the show, it doesn't really land as well. It really is execution is what it comes down to.
Absolutely. No, and what's great about that part. So the first episode, the only zombie that's conscious is Sakura. She's awake, she's alive, and not alive, but conscious.
Cognizant, yeah.
Yeah, and she doesn't know anything about her past. She's the only person who doesn't know anything about her past. And all the other zombie girls are traditional zombies. And she's talking with Kotaro about what the plan is, how they're going to be zombies. And instead of waiting for them to all be conscious, they immediately have a show. And it's a death metal concert, which Sakura doesn't know anything about. And then she figures out that the zombies like to scream if they hear other screams. And so she manages to make it work. It's super awkward. It's super uncomfortable. And it's hilarious.
Yeah. Totally.
I can see, though, how this would be one of the weaker episodes. I think it has some really funny moments, but I think the show is much more engaging when the characters are interacting with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the second episode with the face slap and the rap battle is insanely fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to take us on a tour through the episodes, or
yeah?
Okay.
Let's do that, because I think the thing about this show is that it's such a character-driven and episodic show that deals with so much that you kind of have to go step by step.
Yeah.
And the hip hop episode has a fairly intense rap battle. As far as I'm concerned, that's the top performance they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun, it's good, and it is just full of so much passion. And it also does a nice job at kind of giving a laydown of what the characters are like. You have Lily, who is this little girl, blue-haired zombie who's hella into it. You have Sakura, who's just trying her goddamn best.
Mm-hmm.
And this poor girl can't catch a break. And then Saki, who's this motorcycle gang leader, she has no interest in doing this. And then you have Ai and Junko, who are both idols. One was from 2008 and one was from the 1980s. And the show goes into depth about cultural differences between these time periods. Then you have Yuguri, who is a courtesan. Yeah. And she's like from the 19th century. And then you have the legendary Tai Yamada, who we know have no fucking clue anything about.
But she is legendary.
She is legendary.
Fucking forget it.
Yeah, the show. That's what. During this time, you actually have a very good visual gag of all the characters' names appearing in this incredibly detailed and nice font. And Sakura asks why Tai is legendary, and then Kotaro says, "Well, you're no longer legendary." And then Sakura's font for the rest of the episode is like Comic Sans.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good. But you get as the episodes progress, you start to get a little bit more in depth. There's the Hot Springs episode, which is meh. It's not really that good. I like the Nice Bird episode where they do the commercials for Tori,
mm-hmm.
which is an actual restaurant in Saga, and in the Japanese version, the owner of the restaurant voiced the owner of the restaurant in the anime.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cute. It's fun because it's weird that the show actually has... The show is about bringing tourism to Saga, but it also talks about the things that Saga has that you should go do. Because in this episode, they also do a the Gashima Olympics, which is a mud. It's an event held in the mud flats in the Saga Prefecture, and it's just like a novelty carnival that happens, and they do it, and they talk about it, and it's a real thing.
Yeah, it's execution. It's them actually, going the full way. And it's like, yeah, we're not just gonna use this as like a position for the show. This is actually, we're gonna do some advocacy here. Like,
yeah,
we're gonna do promotion.
Good.
We're gonna do it.
It also has an incredible scene where Kotaro, who throughout the entire show has been this really loud and obnoxious manager who screams in people's faces, gets an interview and he just mumbles the entire time. It's so fucking good. It's funny.
Even he, as like the fill-in producer character for the Edo group, has just oodles of personality and nuance, I feel.
Yeah. There's a lot of times where he'll yell at people. He goes on a rant about Wikipedia, but they censor Wikipedia, but they do a terrible job at censoring it, so you know what they're talking about, but for some reason they do, and it's great. But then he also has an episode where he'll talk to Sakura in this really low-tone voice about the problems that these girls have. It's very good. It's nuanced. It's way better than it has any right to be. One of my favorite episodes, though, kind of the thing that makes this show stand out to me. There's a handful of episodes. There's the episode where we see Saki's background, where she goes to her old town, and she's from the 90s, so her friend is 30 something. It takes place in 2018, and her friend is an adult with a kid, and Saki's and friend's daughter is now part of this biker gang, and her friend doesn't want her to do it, and it has this very motherly tone to it where she just wants her daughter to stay away from it. And one of my favorite parts while watching it, Saki always mentions that her Tamagotchi's dead because she wasn't able to take care of it. And Brantley asked, do you think that her friend took care of her Tamagotchi after Saki died? And in the episode, for a split second, you see her reach for her keys for her motorcycle, and you see Saki's Tamagotchi there. It's so good. It's these tiny little nuances that like show the power of like death. It's stupid. It's a silly show, but it doesn't stray away from the fact that people dying has an impact on people's lives for decades.
Yeah. Also, at this rate in the show is where you start to realize, like, hey, they're repeating songs right now. But I think they do this really effectively. In the same vein of, like, well, if you've seen, like, K-On! Or Yuri on Ice, you get to see them, like, essentially develop their set list, sort of. And I think that's really cool. Some people might find that a little boring or like, oh, that's cheap. But I find it very, like, down to earth that they do that. And it's fun to see that they actually do have changes from song to song. So, like, they'll play a song the first time and it's wobbly or not everyone's really pitching in. And the next time they kind of get the full performance of it, or later on they'll have an encore of it that goes even farther or as a remix. It's really neat to see. The characters are growing, and then along with them, so are their performances. And Once again, it's like they decided to put in some work to put nuance in that had to be intentional.
Yeah, even the CGI animated parts, which are by far the worst parts of this show, the characters aren't always together. They might be slightly off. There's a little bit of detail in their dancing.
Yeah, they don't have like the same exact like animations set to them. Like they've each been animated or mocapped or something. So that they're off from each other. It's not a copy paste job, and I think that's really great, especially because these are things that like don't benefit the show in terms of like marketing and stuff. Like for instance, like the they have the group pick their name like how many episodes deep? Like
I believe it's
a few, like 3 or 4 before they finally decide.
Because they're Death Musume, then they're Green Face, then I think they're Fao Shu Shu.
Yeah, and so like you get to actually watch them kind of build their identity. And I think that's really neat. It's, not profitable that, they sort of, aren't constantly throwing the name at you. But I think that's daring and that's interesting as a result.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I think this show is a comedy first. The show wants to entertain. The show wants to be unique and itself. And it doesn't shy away from following the problematic elements of the idol industry. They even talk about how because they're zombies, they can do things that other idols have to do but are exhausting to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wildly good because the idol industry is a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they tackle some sensitive topics, and we're definitely going to get to those. So, let's continue with the episode order, and then we'll sort of discuss this episode.
So after they do the whole the drive-in Tori episode, you have an episode about Ai and Junko, who are talking about their lives as idols in the past and the problems that they've had with it and the stress that came with it. That episode's fairly slow too. There's not a ton of high octane comedy moments. There's literally a part where Ai and Sakura, or is it Junko and Sakura? I can't remember. It's Junko and Sakura are just sitting on a beach and it's raining, and Junko is talking about the culture shock of the modern day. And that's it. There's no jokes done in it. It is just this 5-minute scene in the rain that are talking about how different life is. And that's incredible. It's so nice to see. And then you also get Saki and I talk about dying in a lightning strike. And the show does a good job at making sure that all the characters get to talk to each other. There's not, this group talks to each other. These people are friends. And I think that helps that there's only 7 characters in the group.
Oh, we're in our year 2021 when we say only 7.
Oh, there's 6. There's 6.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, if you consider like Kotaro is part of the main cast, and so like we lump that together. 1, 2, wait. Oh, there's 7.
There's 7. Maybe I can't count.
Saki, Tai, Sakura, Lily, Junko, Ai, Yugiri.
Oh, yep, that's it. Sorry, I just can't count. I literally had a list up, and I just did not count correctly.
It's okay.
But yeah, this show does.
This is familiar territory canon, right? Or was it that I couldn't do numbers and you couldn't do words? I don't remember.
Either way, we're both
fucking
idiots.
stupid. Let's move on.
So you get a very good talk about the difference in idol groups from the 80s to now, and you get the culture shock, and it creates this issue where Junko doesn't want to be a part of this, and they're going to a Saga Rock performance, and during this time the band is picking up audience members. So they meet these 2 metal heads in the first episode, and they shock them, and so they go to every single one of their concerts. In episode 3, when they do a flash mob, they pick up this little girl and her mom, and they will be in the audience, and the show will pan over them for a little bit, and that's it. And it's great. It's building to them, and it's super weird that they put so much detail into this silly thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they respect you as a watcher. If you're paying attention, they'll reward you. They will.
And in that episode, in the 7th episode, when Junko locks herself away, Kotaro even talks about how if she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't have to do it. That's not what needs to happen. You can do what you want. And then she eventually rejoins, and they get struck by lightning on stage. But since they're zombies, it apparently makes their voices have auto-tune. It's fucking stupid, but it does it.
The finger lasers.
It's so dumb.
So great. It's incredible.
Now, the next episode, though. Episode 8 is what makes this show wildly incredible. And it's the episode where we learn about Lily's backstory. So Lily Hoshikawa is she was a child actress who died due to overwork and stress. And her dad, Takio Go, is literally a giant. He is massive. And not just like slightly taller than everybody else. His hands can wrap around other characters. Mm-hmm. He's huge. And it turns out that when Lily was alive, he was her manager. And he worked her really hard because he loved TV. He loved seeing his daughter as a star. But his daughter is also trans, is a transgender girl. And there's no jokes about the identity. There's no poking fun at it. It is just played completely straight. And Takeo, Lily's dad, starts to talk about how she's going to have a harder time passing as a girl as she gets older because she's going to start going through puberty. And during this time, she dies of shock. She dies of a heart attack. And it's fucking sad. And it sends him into this death spiral because he lost his wife, he lost his daughter, and he has nothing left going for him. And the show starts with him finding the band and seeing his daughter and being like, hey, that's my kid. And it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that it's played off so well, and it's, as far as I know, the only anime I've seen that has been able to do this without it being wildly offensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can think of maybe like one or two cases where I've heard but not actually gone and watched those shows that like there's a trans character that's done well, but usually there's still like a side character, right? They're just off to the side. It's something I'll investigate someday, but in the meantime, like, I mean, you don't become the face of this generation's, shut the fuck up turf without just nailing it, right? Like, it is difficult, I think, to accomplish that so consistently and agreeably, that Lily has become a progressive icon. And for a country she didn't originate from, it's good. The
only joke they make about her is that her dead name is Masao Go, and they think it's funny because it is a very like macho name, and she's very small. Mm-hmm. And that's literally the only joke they mention it. And then the rest, and the rest of it, there's even a part where they go to Kotaro and asking him if he knew, and he goes, "Of course I knew, but it doesn't matter. Lily is Lily. You're Lily. I'm Lily. We're all Lily." And that's it. It's they talk about it, and they didn't even go to talk to Kotaro about that. They went to talk to him about, hey, people know who she is because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good, and all the characters are accepting of it, and they don't bring it up later as a problem. It is incredibly well done, and I gotta give it props to the writer of it. The writer of Go-Go Neverland Saga, which is episode 8, is Shigeru Murakoshi.
Mm-hmm.
And they have done a few scripts. They've written things like Dororo. They've done Zombieland Saga, but they're not particularly prolific. And you know what? I still gotta give it to them.
Yeah, let's hope that changes, right?
Yeah. I mean, they honestly haven't been in the game for that long, it appears.
Mm-hmm.
with their first thing being like 2017. So they've only been in the game for a couple years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really do want to like underscore this as a triumph. Like it shows that like it doesn't matter like what your genre is. It doesn't matter like what direction you're leaning in terms of like comedy or tragedy. You can find a way to not make this shitty. You know, like you can pull this off. And they do it not once but, you know, multiple times with similar topics. Earlier we mentioned Ai's trigger from thunderstorms, right? And so, you know, you're going to see her being triggered in these episodes. But it is not taken as, it's not used for joke material. You know, it is almost immediately converted into an experience of understanding and like sympathy and collaboration from everyone. The group will learn how to essentially accommodate for this on behalf of the person who's, you know, under duress, rather than them turning this into a narrative about, well, I'm going to overcome it, you know? And I think that's an excellent way of going about it. It certainly, you know, fits like modern comfort standards, so it's up to date on that. You know, and like, I mean, I'll lay it down. Like, you're going to see this stuff happen. Like, you're going to see Lily being dead named, but I think in context it is well controlled. You know, such that what you're getting out of it is the positive experience ultimately, right? And again, it is not punching down. Not that I've seen.
I think it weirdly does a good job at going through a parent's understanding of their trans child.
Mm-hmm.
Kate O'Neill of the Fandom Post talked about Go Neverland Saga, and they talked about Lily's important role in trans Twitter and how it's so rare to see a supportive, loving parent in a show that deals with transgender stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. And it's a show about zombie idols. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the kind of thing where what they're showing here, it's not malicious, it's misunderstood, and then they unravel that, right?
Yep.
So there's a strong chance that someone who's watching this, you know, will, you know, and I'm speaking, you know, from a privileged position that, you know, I'm not, you know, in this zone quite, but like, you know, someone watching this ideally is not exposed to a lot of harm of the actual thing. But you do get to see it be resolved because of the way they handle it. So for everybody out there who's in the industry or, you know, is aspiring to be a part of the industry at some point, here's your benchmark. Okay, you're not allowed to use genre fiction as an excuse to avoid, you know, modern progressive human reality and understanding and kindness. Fucking catch up. Okay.
if a zombie idol show can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the rest of the show, I feel like that's one of the high end emotional parts, because not only do we get to see some personal things with Lily, but we also get to see probably the most visceral reaction to the death of a child. It's sad. It makes me misty-eyed talking about it. Yeah. It's good. The last few episodes deal a little bit with Sakura's memories, because she doesn't remember anything. And then she loses her memories and then gains her memories again. It's really weird, but it ends up doing some pretty good character growth. They have the last day of the concert where the venue collapses and the girls continue their performance, and it looks good. It's emotional. It's a good go get them and work together as a team type thing. And the show got a second season. Now that's what I wanted to. That's why I wanted to do this. When we started watching it, we knew that the second season was coming out, but they gave a couple of pictures, and they gave a little bit more of the what's the word they call it when they release
Press
stills.
release?
Yeah, there was some more press release. There was some more advertisements for it coming out. And I think it is coming out relatively soon, too. I know it's this year.
Can't come soon enough.
It can't come soon enough. It was announced in July 2019 that it was getting a second season, and it's setting to premiere this April. And the key visual is what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
The first key visual is Kotaro without a shirt screaming to the heavens. And honestly, fucking gold, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we talk about the characters now that we've gone through like the episodes?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I've got something nice to say pretty much about every character. I do want to keep this like, somewhat contained. But I do want to start on Sakura, since she is the lead character. I truly, honestly believe she deserves some extra credit for not just being like a bland fill-in role. It's just kind of like the let's do it, go get him. Okay, I'm the middleest of the group. She's not the Mario or Mickey Mouse of this group, and I think that's really important. I personally relate to Sakura's whole direction, where she's essentially so driven to like please people and has like an optimistic sort of alignment to life that eventually escalates to her becoming like an overworker. That she so deeply believes that they need to do a good job and that they will do a good job, that she can't stop until they do. And again, that fits the idol themes. It works for her as a member of the cast. It's not anyone else's thing, it's her own thing. It is a relatable inner conflict, and it gets spotlighted in the show, and I'm really glad for it.
One of my favorite defining moments for her is at the beginning near the end of episode 1, where they're about to go on stage. Kotaro gives this incredibly heartfelt speech about how she's going to go in and bring the group together and make a powerful show. And she asks him, "Do you really think I could do that?" And he like nods. And there's like this delay, and she goes, "Yeah, I don't want to do this." It's so fucking good, but it's a good example of her character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes to show that they had this stuff planned out from the beginning. It's not like, hey, we have like a different girl per hair color, and then when we get to an episode, we're gonna like throw a dart to give someone a plot. The stuff that they grapple with is like consistent in their characters throughout the show. Since we get the most screen time with Sakura, I think it's easier to see how she kind of builds over time. It's present from the beginning when she is, going out and like taking the mic and basically still trying to do the set on her own, even though no one else is able to participate. That kind of got me, and it's like, yeah, this is her character, and then we're going to get to the breaking point eventually. I think that's really good.
Yep. I want to talk about my favorite character.
Yeah.
And that is Saki. I love Saki. It's super easy to write a tomboy badass
delinquent
biker. Yeah.
Step 1, write the words Doria, and then you're good.
You're good. In the Japanese version, during the rap battle between Saki and Sakura, Sakura actually tries to mimic the delinquent accent. They don't do it in the English version, but I forgot that you heard the Japanese version because they didn't have the English songs dubbed when we watched it. But she mimics her speaking patterns, which is really fun. But Saki is more than just that. There's a lot of times where she shows to be very emotionally mature and very responsive to the group's fears and desires and wants. And, you know, and it makes sense because if you're the leader of a biker gang, you need to be able to do that. And they do that. They also don't make any jokes about femininity with her. She never gets upset about having to wear a skirt or have to be girly. And I think that's a really good kind of side piece with this, because you normally get a when they're delinquents and they're badass, they can't be girly. No, you can't have that. They have to be masculine. They have to reject these gendered things. But Saki does both, and I think that it's well done, and she also has some very good facial animation reactions that I still have on my phone.
Indeed. Yeah, I really think that every character has a nuke spot in the cast. Even like the characters who don't get dedicated character development in this season, they still feel like they're essentially filling a role. And they still feel like complete people. Yugiri, you know, she doesn't get like a usual like arc where it's like, oh, I have a problem and now let's solve it together. But that makes sense. She's the oldest in the cast. She's generally got, you know, a very kind of, you know, self-assured demeanor. You know, she's a competent and calm person. And I think it's great that they're just like, yeah, she's just allowed to be settled in. You know, she doesn't have a crisis right now, so she's instead going to be a support pillar. You know, that, once again, it's like, you have to fight your own formulas as a writer in order to make that happen, and I really appreciate that.
She also has one of the best returning gags where where someone will give a heartfelt advice or speech, and she'll slap them, and then give the same exact heartfelt speech, and everyone will react to hers as if she was trying to correct this downer environment. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
And she does it to Kotaro and to Sakura, and both times it just hits the mark so well.
Yeah. Also, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I don't think they made any gags or like or references to her having a large chest either.
Nope.
Which, if I'm remembering correctly, yay, another win for the show. We've personally talked about that recently, just like out of familiar territory of just like, you know, that should happen more often. I see people who, you know, are cosplayers saying like, I wish I had a wider selection of choices of characters with large chests that weren't also just like highly sexualized or characters I hate. You know, it's like, right. I want to feel comfortable being able to cosplay with my body. You know, and that is a wing of this. So, you know, awesome.
And in fact, the only time I think anyone gets made fun of for their physical appearance is they make fun of Lily for being short.
Yeah.
But it's always in kind of a not a mean, humorous way. It's good. It's the cast, when they have issues with each other, it is a deep rooted drama and not something that's surface level and bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
The other characters you have, we've talked about Junko and I being older idols. They're the only people that have the idol background.
Mm-hmm.
And I is kind of, she doesn't totally get these kind of goofiness that these characters have. She's very serious and very uptight, but it makes sense because she was the leader of her old group, Iron Frill, and she wants them to do well. I think that the problem with her in this season is that her episodes that she gets character developments are also episodes that Junko gets character developments. The one of the best parts about her is when Sakura gets knocked unconscious, forgets that she's a zombie, and is trying to be reintroduced to the zombie world. Ai puts on the human makeup they wear to do performances and comforts Sakura, because she knows that Sakura knew who she was because they both died in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see this very kind of gentle way of bringing this person into a legitimately horrifying experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Junko has a lot of Junko's character is fairly meh. I think it's not that she's bad. I just think that we haven't really delved into her past. We don't know too much except for how she died and what she did.
Mm-hmm. We got a little bit, and we talked about that previously, where you mentioned the rainy beach and whatnot. So her developments are a little more melancholic, and so they're just not going to be the same kind of explosive situation, you know. Like Saki's is literally explosive, right? Like
yes,
like things blow up, but
But for there's always this mystery because there is a reporter that's following them that I think recognizes I. And that's the thing about this show. They bring up like mysteries about it. Mm-hmm. Like how are they turned into zombies when most people in Japan get cremated? Who used dark magic to bring them back? There's a lot of uncertainty going on. And it's weirdly engaging.
Mm-hmm. It really is, yeah. They do very little lamp shading in this show. Mm-hmm. Like they're not going to explain to you, like for example, how much they can have their bodies torn apart before they, double die. It's not stuff like that, but it feels like they're setting up for things more often than they're just saying, "Don't worry about it." As you mentioned, like, hey, you're real people and you didn't die that long ago. Someone's going to find you, especially since they're in the Saga Prefecture. These things work against each other. On one hand, you have people, from the area. It's like, well, you're gonna defend your hometown or whatever. But for that same reason, you're also very identifiable. There's an incredible conflict in that, and it's a meaningful and thematic one that I want to, explore a little later.
So let's talk about Kotaro now. I mean, we could also talk about the legendary Tei Yamada, but what else is there to say? She's legendary.
What don't you get?
Yeah. So Kotaro is where most of the comedy I think comes from. Mm-hmm. Wikipedia describes him as a manic producer and necromancer.
That's something for the D&D character sheet right there.
And he's very aggressive to the girls, but they're also aggressive back to him after like the third episode. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't seem one-sided. Some of the jokes he does are just rewatching episode 8 today. There's a part where he comes out of the bathroom and he's just falsetto singing for no reason. There's no joke to it. It's just what he does.
Yeah.
Or when he's driving and Saki jumps out of the car and he's like a soccer mom at that point, where he's just frustrated because he has 6 children in his car who are arguing and bickering. Mm-hmm. It's good. There is some things about his past we don't know about. Mm-hmm. He apparently went to high school with Sakura, and he is trying to make her dream come true to be an idol, but that's all we know. And it's so barely touched upon that I think we're going to get a little bit more into season 2. And mm-hmm. I think that's the best part about season 2 coming out. Yes, we get to see the characters again. Yes, we get to experience the comedy and jokes. But I hate not knowing things. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited to know things.
Yeah. I do like that setup that they have with Kotaro. It's compelling, it honestly is a really good hook. Once they show their hand, they're like, yeah, there's more to this, and we're just not telling you yet. And he is, I think Kotaro is electric. Like, he is just like, I can only speak for the English dub, but
it's the same in the Japanese sub. He is both the voice actors that voice Kotaro, which is in English Rico Fajardo. I don't know what it is. I'm bad at pronouncing names, but and then in the Japanese it's Mamoru Miyano, and like Mamoru in Japanese, he's voiced Ryuji in Persona 5. He voiced Riku in Kingdom Hearts. He was Light Yamagi. He's pretty prolific. He was Rentaro Okabe in Steins Gate, and you can see his chops in the Japanese version. But at the same time, I do think that Rico, he's a little less prolific. He still has some pretty good stuff, but he's only been doing a lot of things since like 2011, so he's been in the game for about 10 years. And he started off as some side characters and some shonen. He's a couple characters in the video game Smite, but he puts in so much work for this character. His biggest role recently, it seems, is Lamelian in My Hero. He's a couple characters in Free. He has a character in Fire Force, but damn, is Kotaro his siren song or swan song? Just absolute energetic, hilarious, powerful. He's screaming all the time.
Yeah, that like until he's talking to someone who's not in the idol group.
Yes,
in which case he's either becoming like a slippery businessman or an incredibly shy
I forgot
introvert.
the one scene where he's doing business with the pharmaceutical company and he has a full-on sundae in front of him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it's going to be good because season 1 ends with the reporter whose name is Okaba noticing connections between Frau Choo-Choo's members and dead people. And I think that's going to be an interesting minefield to do in writing.
Yeah. If I had to sell this show to someone, I would probably show them clips of Kotaro.
Yes, 100%.
I am not someone who believes in the divine or the cosmos, but like I'm sure there's someone in the world who can convince me that this role was made for Rico. Like it's kind of incredible. And like Grant said, it's because he's put work in. Holy shit. I think that like he's the undergirder of all this that works. And again, they do this carefully. Kotaro's a tough character because he's an ass. He kind of leans into like abusive behavior every now and then because he's a wild card, and he's just kind of got that like aggressive personality. But I think the characters in the show put him in check enough that it's contained, and it's clear that like him being an asshole is not the part you want to be. Kotaro is funniest when he's being eccentric and like exasperatedly energetic. Like when he is like essentially depleting himself of energy with every single scream. That is what I think is really fun about the character. And so I think he sort of lands in that like context safe version of this kind of character,
100%.
And this is hard to pull off again.
Yeah.
To do a flawed character like this who also happens to be like one of the foundational parts of the show. That's it. I know about this show because of this guy, Yeah, the scene where they're recapping after the rap battle, that was how I was introduced to this show. And nailed it.
I will also say that the Japanese voice actor for Kotaro, Mamoru, he in recent publicity versions for the show has been dressing up as Kotaro and doing interviews as him.
That's great.
For it. I don't think they've been subbed or translated, but it's fun to watch him do it.
Oh god, yeah. That's incredible.
This show is worth a watch, but it's definitely worth a watch with friends. I know we recommend so many people to watch shows with their friends, but I think this show is laugh out loud funny, and you tend to laugh out loud more when you're with other people who can laugh out loud with you.
Yeah. And
I think it's worth checking out both versions. I've seen both. I think they're both great. I don't think that there is you have to watch one. It's gonna be a hard choice. I think that the voices in both versions are incredible. And what's crazy, once again, the amount of love and passion that goes into this show is even in the Blu-ray versions of the English versions, they redubbed all the songs so that the songs have English versions. They're not quite as good because it's harder to do that than just dub over voice lines. But they did it. They spent the time to do it. And that's incredibly... There's a lot of love behind this show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, give it a look. Give it a look.
Yeah. Really, like, there's one more thing I want to slip in regards of, like, this show's content. This show says fuck cops, and I'm all about that.
It does say fuck cops. There is a bitch-ass cop named Cop A.
Yeah.
Policeman A. And they even joke about how he is way too trigger-happy and bad at his job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. It's good.
I think it's only... It's obligatory that we have to talk about favorite songs. So, Grant, what is your favorite song, and why is it the rap battle?
The rap battle is really good. I think that the flow is incredible. I like the fact that they used the I'm gonna mispronounce this instrument for like the 4th episode. The shamisen. Yeah, the shamisen. They have a shamisen in the background, and Kotaro is beatboxing, and it's a very good beatbox, and it has an incredibly fast breakdown at the end. It's so good. If it's not that one, I really like the song they sing at the end of Saki's episode, with, by the way, the full title for Saki's episode. So most of the episodes are like, but it's Zombie Metal Saga, because it's Sentimental Saga, the Nice Bird Saga, and Your Heart, Go Go Neverland Saga. Saki's episode is, though my life may have ended once by some twist of fate, I have risen. And if a song and dance are to be my fate, the carrying the memories of my comrades in my heart as I sally forth shall be my saga.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fucking long for no reason.
Yeah.
I like the song they sing in that.
I think it's Toko Dance, if you want to look that up.
Okay. Sick. It's good. I also like the song that Lily sings to her dad at the end of her episode. It's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's hella good.
Yeah. I also love the rap battle. I was hearing Kotaro's beatboxing in my head for days afterwards.
It's good.
Yeah, and it's a close second. I think it's a tie between, I don't have the actual name, but Cut In. If you look that up, you're gonna find the song. That's really close for me. I just think it's really catchy. As is like the first song they try to sing, and then the last song they sing, I think, which is Yomi Gaere. That's the one that gets interrupted in the first episode, and then turns into the Screamo song. I really enjoy those. They're good songs.
Yeah, no, it is an incredible good show. Do you have anything else to say about Zombieland Saga?
May I unravel some themes here?
Of course you may.
Okay, I'm gonna pop the lid off of this show. Okay? 1. Zombies are a powerful allegory for pop idols. So, once you're a zombie, being seen for what you really are in public means potential harm or death, right? Idol. Don't
100%.
show who you are. No one gets to know if you have a boyfriend. In fact, don't date anyone. If you're going out in public, you have to look presentable. I mean, this applies to celebrities, right? This is not just a J-pop thing, but I mean, I feel potentially, especially a J-pop thing, right? That parasocial relationship has to be, apparently the most important thing in the world, and everyone has to believe that you have no other life except your celebrity identity. And so both of these things are the same mean to an end. Unless you want to get perfect blued, then you always have to be in celebrity mode, says your, producer, I'm sure. And so that's what gets reflected here too. It's just that zombies are the explanation for it, right?
Right.
Instead of just saying like, you can't show who you are because if you show who you really are to the world, then you're putting yourself in danger. It's abstracted into zombie. That's the metaphor that's sort of layered in between those things. So I think that's effective. But I think even going beyond that, this show works in sort of unpacking that, because basically when they get their bursts of popularity, whenever they're humanized by making mistakes on stage and they're, kind of fumbling on things or just, recovering from those fumbles, when they break out into, the screamo song, that recovery is what gains them respect. When they pull off the, the gorilla song, the flash mob song, they have someone who just likes to watch them go, in the form of a little kid on the sidelines, when they're fumbling and they're being human despite being zombies, that's when they sort of come alive again. Basically, I feel the thesis of this show is that death is not about mortality. It's about your existence in like the cultural consciousness. If you are known, if you are related to, if you're present in like, your local subculture, then you're alive. It doesn't matter what physical state you're in, right? When Kotaro is like reintroducing them into the world, through this zombie idol group, really in a way he's kind of like it's almost like an in-loving memory, but extended into a career, right? Like,
Right.
You could play this show as like as if the girls never did come back, like, oh, this is a weird, turnaround thing where they were never alive, but they were alive in everyone's minds, like you can technically play that with this material, that they were essentially, brought back to Saga by, being, reminded to everyone and humanized once again, despite, being gone in the physical sense. Furthermore, this whole theme of death and being abstracted into something that's not so mortal, that's carried into the character's personal conflicts. So, Sakura's dream dies with her. Junko and Ai's careers die. Even though they're back to life, they aren't allowed to go back because clearly they're legally dead. Before death, Lily's former self dies. Saki's rival dies in the sense that she leaves that life behind her. That part of her doesn't exist anymore. And so this show takes death and essentially, flattens it out with a rolling pin and makes it cover this wider understanding. Death is this abstract thing that we have to grapple with in a lot of forms and a lot of degrees of intensity. And the magnitude of that is serious based on its context, not like any specific like departure of life force. it's all about like humanizing and being like in the world. To understand is to be alive, and to be understood is to live. And that's really interesting to me. Like this, to totally clarify too, this is, potentially digging into some like older school philosophy of existence, is existential stuff. And like, even like pre-existence, you might say. You could source this to some older, German theorists, some of which are probably all right, some of which are probably fucking Nazis, and I apologize for that. But information is what lives through our communication and through our lives. So, death to the old dudes who fucking sucked and might have thought the same thing. But to everyone else who was cool and thought the same thing, they're going to live on in my promotion of that, right? Same with this show. Life is something very different than just, what is breathing.
Yeah. Shit's good.
Okay. Got it out of my system. Gonna have some hypotheticals.
Hell yeah, let's do this.
Okay, sorry. No, I don't. Not yet. I want to point to the stands on something. I think this show might pose a really interesting sort of theory, like almost like predicting an interrelationship between, like parasocial relationships and death positivity. I wonder if we're going to have a moment in our generation where, like, us being used to parasocial relationships, living online through a pandemic, having most of our, most of the celebrities we're interested in have online presence. I wonder if we're going to get comfortable with the idea that, like, well, when you're gone, you're not really gone. You're still, preserved. Essentially, you're still archived. And I wonder if we'll become more death positive as a culture as a result. Anyways, maybe that'll work out for me. Maybe that won't. Maybe I'll forget in the 10 years it takes to actually look back on that. Let's do the fun shit. Okay. Hey, Grant, let's say that you die and become a zombie. What makes you legendary? What makes you so special, huh? Huh?
Oh fuck.
What's your legacy?
Better. Damn, that's existentially hitting me. I don't know. This fucking podcast, so that's pretty sad.
Oh, no. Are you fucking answering for me that way?
I don't know. I feel like most of my legacy involves my friends and family. I don't really have much impact on the outside world. I mean, maybe there's a couple of kids that are going to be geologists because I showed them a cool rock at the museum.
Hell yeah.
So that's a thing. I do a lot of good there.
You rock.
That joke is never going to get old.
Don't lie to me.
I think that, I don't know. Give me another 5 years. I'll do something to fucking leave a legacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's my new prediction.
Cool.
What about you, Brantley? What legacy do you have?
We're gonna get this episode to 100 bazillion views, baby. That's what it is. Pointing to the stands again. Here we go. 100 bazillion views. That's it. That's it. And none of those people will be people I know, so I don't have to feel embarrassed about that. Okay. So, continuing on that thread, now that you're a zombie, what direct action power fantasies are you going to go fulfill?
So it depends. Do I die? Am I a zombie? I'm a zombie like they are, right?
Yes, let's use Zombieland Saga rules.
Cool. I'm going to go just beat up bad people.
Vigilante hero, yeah.
Vigilante hero as a zombie, because I just have to wear a really, really nice helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to have some other person to put my body parts back together.
Yeah.
Because apparently they can just pop back on.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to do that. What an interesting concept for a character.
Hey, I mean, luckily too, within this show's logic, if you're just like a head, you can still hop around. So like you can fairly decently put yourself back together. When your stuff is separated, it doesn't stop moving unless you really choose to stop it.
I also don't need to breathe, so I can, I don't need to breathe.
Yeah.
So I can encase my head in lead.
That's
no one can. No one can shoot my face. Hell yeah!
I mean, it might be very heavy, but then that's also kind of a look. Like if you're sort of like you're constantly bent over with the weight of your lead head. Lead head is probably a name it's already taken, but that'd be sweet.
Would I be able to? My muscles don't grow though, right?
No.
Like I can't get stronger, can I?
No.
Damn, I'm gonna have to get hella jacked before I die. That's what's gonna happen. The next 5 years, I'm gonna get hella jacked, then I'm gonna die, turn into a zombie vigilante.
Cool. I love it. I love it.
What about you? What would you do if you were a zombie?
My answer is more lame. I think I'd probably just like go attend a bunch of strikes and try to get strikes going, because like I currently like I am a bad traveler. Like I don't really have the funds to like pay for hotels and stuff. I do terribly driving when I'm tired, and that scares me. I just generally don't like going out to other places. And so it makes it hard for me to like, like to go to places that aren't just like, 15, 20 minutes away to go like join something, right? Like I'm mostly locally buckled down. And I also feel like I strongly have to be near my place of work. So I think I would just like start nomading it and just like start wandering around and essentially starting shit or joining shit. There's no more of that worry of like, oh man, like I have to drive somewhere, potentially to protest, and then I have to drive back still, and I have work that I'm putting off. Instead it'd just be like, well, I have no other obligations. Let me come join the cause, I think that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, no, that's dream. Sick. Man, being a zombie sounds tight.
Right? I'm realizing that now.
Do you have any other hypotheticals? Because I have one.
Oh, lay it on me.
All right, Brantley. You have to get you are seeing the success of Frau Shushu.
Okay.
And you have suddenly become hella capitalist. And you now need to put together another idol group of other monsters. What monsters do you use to create an idol group to rival Frau Shushu?
Oh, well, that's interesting. Thankfully, I have a great answer for that, and it's white Minecraft YouTubers.
How specific? That was fast. Wow, that was good.
Can you top that? What's yours? You have to come up with something.
Draculas from different eras.
Oh, you know what? That's sweet. That's fucking sweet.
So you'd have like Bram Stoker's Dracula. You would have like Dracula X from Castlevania. You'd have Alucard. You would just have a bunch of different Draculas. Not vampires. Vampires is the easiest answer.
Mm-hmm.
But different Draculas.
Oh, man. I'm trying to come up with a cool group name for that. There's got to be one in there. We can workshop this.
Rando of Blood. That's...
That is good.
Rondo of Blood, sorry. Fuck.
No, did you say Rando of Blood originally?
Yeah.
That's funnier because it's like random Draculas, so it's Rando of Blood. That's why I laughed.
All right. What's our you got any more?
No, I think we're done. I recommend this show. Grant has practically recommended it to everybody.
Just about
we know.
everybody.
Yeah, and like with high success rate too. This show is infectious.
It's like a virus outbreak.
It's like a zombie bite a zombie and make a zombie.
Yeah, man. Shit's wild. The show's good. Go watch it. Well, thank you for listening to us talk about a zombie idol show for the past hour and 15 minutes. If you enjoyed what you hear, go check out some of our other things. I think we're okay. Our last episode was a tier list of everything we watched and since the start. It's a kind of a good way to check out our opinions. You can comment, you can subscribe, or you don't have to, because we are not your managers of your idol group.